right, guys. Well, welcome back to Refined Real Estate Podcast. This is episode number 2. Today, what we want to talk about is how we educated ourselves to put ourselves in a better position to succeed in real estate. I know we chatted about a few things in the last episode, but we want to dive a little bit deeper. This is mostly for people that are early on in their real estate investing career, might have 0 properties, 1 property, 2 property. This is some of the techniques that we use to help us scale up to some of our more multifamily buildings or some of our Airbnbs. But at the end of the day, it's all continued learning. I mean, like we've said in the last one, we have not arrived to where we want to be in real estate investing, and it's a process, it's a journey, it's something that we got to continue at, and something that we would like to just get better at on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And the way we do that is going to be described in what we're doing for these podcasts. So without further ado, Manny, you want to tell us how you went from 0 properties to where you're at now?
Well, when I first started, I didn't know anything. So the first thing that actually helped me a lot was finding an investor-focused real estate agent. And I found a great one here in Halifax. His name is Jeremy, and initially he taught me everything that I knew. When I first had a meeting with this guy, he was talking to me about terms, cap rates, ROI. I had no idea what he's talking about. This is all brand new. So he guided me along the way. I just knew I wanted to be a part of real estate, and he helped me. And then once I got into that, then it's just like, YouTube videos, podcasts, all that stuff. I got carried away. But initially, it was just finding a mentor, pretty much. That's what he was to me at the start. He mentored me in everything that I kind of learned about real estate. And then we just went from there. What about you guys?
For myself, it was actually Ian, who I'd say was my first real estate mentor. Yeah, going back to 2020, I guess it was. And that's when I identified that, I love real estate, I want to keep going with it. And then just didn't know anything, didn't know of any resources. And that's when I was just well, it'd be a lot easier to work with someone. I'll offer up whatever help I can in exchange for them giving me a little bit of mentorship. And that's exactly what happened. Ian and I reached out. I'm sure that story is in one of our first podcasts somewhere. But we started working together, and that's what it was. Ian was above me on the knowledge side of things, and then that's where I just really leaned on him and learned from him, and that's kind of what propelled me into real estate and where we are today.
And I guess for me, I would say, start out originally with Bigger Pockets podcast. I was just a sucker for them, literally every day, or 3, 4, 5 a week, whatever it was. I remember going back, I used to own a snow removal company back in the day, and I remember being out there shoveling driveways, back-breaking labor, all that stuff, and just podcast after podcast after podcast, thinking, if I can continue to learn this stuff, this is going to really help push me forward. And that's really what got me on some of the techniques that helped me get some of my very first flips and stuff is just literally emulating the things that they were doing in the podcast. I mean, especially with real estate, it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about adopting strategies that have worked for other people, apply them in your market, and see if they work. I mean, we went through a lot of, or I especially in the beginning went through a lot of trial and error. Spent hours and hours on things that yielded no results, but just didn't lose enthusiasm on it. Instead, just said, okay, maybe it's time to pivot on this, or move from this, or try something else out, or whatever it might be. So that's really the beginning side of things. And then, especially for the multifamily, it came in the form of a bit of a mentorship, when just reaching out to people, chatting with people, see how things were doing, changed my focus again from more single family stuff to multifamily stuff. This was after Janelle and I, we partnered up, and we reached out to people that we saw that were crushing it in the space. We said, how are you doing this? And learned some of the ways that they were doing it, learned about value add with multifamily stuff. And that's really what helped take us to close on our very first building, on our second building. So it's all strategies that, you didn't even know about until you actually were able to talk to people that were doing it. So I'd say that was definitely a huge stepping stone. So, and then I know on top of that, Manny, you're enrolled in some courses. We're enrolled in some courses. Maybe talk about what those courses are like and how they've helped you out.
Yeah, so that's what I would actually give credit to, helping me to get from where I was at the start of just this time last year to now, like I've seen exponential growth in my own mindset and like the projects that I go after and everything that I do. And I credit that because of these coaching programs. So I want to say not last November, November of 2021, I had a coaching call with this guy. His name's Michael Watch. So I paid, forget, man, $150 maybe for the call. And it was an amazing call. Probably the most valuable call I've ever had within real estate. And then I found out he's a coach in another program and I could have calls with this guy every single week. Like this is a no brainer for me. Right. And then, so Michael really helped me get everything in order. Like from like I wasn't a new investor at that point. Like I had maybe 2 triplexes at that point, but he helped me get all like the back end stuff really cleared up and, having like a vision and the clarity and setting up goals, all of these things that are very important. But I didn't think about that stuff at that time. I just wanted to buy units. And over the past year, 2022, me and him, once a week, we'd have a call for 1 hour, and every week, it's just gold. It's an amazing call. And then in the last summer, my focus shifted a little bit from Nova Scotia multifamily to going to the States. And then I'm like, okay, I need to learn how to buy apartment buildings in the States. How do I do this? And we were lucky that a guy named Alfonso Quadra came to Halifax. He had a boot camp about just multifamily investing in general. And then I found out there was a guy in that program that coaches specifically on how Canadians can buy apartment buildings in USA. I'm like, okay, this is a no-brainer. This is what I want to do. And the thing is, I could probably have figured this out by myself, but it would have taken me longer and I would have made mistakes along the way, which, there's value in that. But like, I'm all about just, cutting out those mistakes. I'd like to learn from others' mistakes so I can avoid them and I can get to where I want to go faster. And then, so I started learning from Thomas. His name's Thomas Larini. And then after this mentorship, me and him just got along great. Now we're going to be partners. It's just like, so now, even if I didn't join this program, there would have been no way I could have partnered with this guy. This guy's a coach about how to buy apartments in the USA. And now he's partnering with me to buy apartments in the USA. It's the best value I could have ever gotten.
Jump back to the call that you had in November of 2020, was it, or 2021?
2021, yeah.
Yeah, to that call, like, what were like your big takeaways? Like you talked about having like learning about like the back end, the setup, the goals. But if you think back to that call, like what were some like those action items that you took out of that you just went and did?
So actually that call, it wasn't so much the back end stuff. That was just like throughout all of last year. But that call, what I remember was the value that Michael provided me was I had a couple deals going on at the time and I was like, how do I JV? How do I provide value to others? How do I set up stuff like that? And he's like, Manny, you are bringing somebody an awesome opportunity. So it comes back to the idea of when we're raising capital. It's like we're providing people an opportunity to make money. So we sometimes feel like we're, not me per se, but like you're begging people for money for your deals. It's like, that's not the case at all. You're providing someone an awesome opportunity to go make 10, 15, 20% returns. And that call helped me make the shift. That was like the first call that I realized I'm providing immense value for others here. You're building wealth through me and I'm making it easier for you. I'm just using your capital to do so. And that was the first call that I learned that kind of clicked for me. And I really liked it a lot.
Talking about providing value, we're in the mix of like kind of redoing some of our social media stuff, and someone was reviewing one of the pages that I had, and it was talking about investments and how much you're making your savings account or your high interest savings account, and I had on there like 2 to 3%, and the person was like, no, it's 0.5%. So just to kind of like have that comparison. Then you're talking about private money or JV where you're making double digits on that. It's like wildly different.
Oh, absolutely. And that's like the thing with investing with us in real estate in general. It's like there is such an opportunity for upside. So it's, you can offer these great returns. Or I know we've done some joint venturing stuff where, we've made our investors hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. And it's just like, okay, yes, they needed to bring a sizable amount of money to the table, but like, look at the long-term returns that they're going to have. I mean, yes, there is an opportunity for things to go completely awry and the market to just crash, which it kind of is, but it's still, we bought right. We found good opportunities. We put people to work and they're going to see crazy gains for the rest of their life. So it really is like, we're not begging for money. We're literally posting opportunities. And if people want to take advantage of that with us, then by all means, that's what the relationships we're trying to develop there. So then I guess another point or another analogy that it's been in the back of my head and stuff. It's One where I don't know if you guys have played many video games growing up. Any of our listeners, I'm sure, have. Basically, playing Pokemon back in the day, or the Zelda, or any of those types of games where it's like a challenge, and there's all these different ways to do things. And if you can go up online and look up like a how-to guide of how to do these games, that's kind of what coaching is. When it's like, hey, here we have rules or a set way to do things, or a problem that we need to solve, whether it be raising capital, finding deals, whatever it is. If you can go on and ask people that have done it, or have, written out literally the way to do it through their eyes, because they have experience in doing it, you can arrive, or you can beat that game so much faster. And in this case, it's like the game is, I want to buy more real estate and have a cash flow and appreciate and all that stuff. If you could literally, ask people or pay people, or be in the same room as people that are doing this type of stuff, and they can point you in the right direction, like, why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that, and have someone cut out a lot of the mistakes that they've made, for you to succeed? I mean, it really is the way to push yourself further. So yeah, I know. Again, Manny's in the Wealth Genius. We're in the M1 course, where it's a lot about raising money. You're coming from guys with big private equity pasts, and they're sharing all their tips and tools and scripts and all this stuff. I mean, it really is a way to cut out a lot of the trial and error and really propel yourself forward. So yeah, definitely some good stuff there. And then I know, like, a lot of people have reached out to us for coaching, and that is actually a service that we provide. I mean, especially people that they want to buy their first house, or their second house, or first investment property, or whatever it might be. That's actually a service that we provide, and we're actually working with people nowadays, and helping with setting goals, all that type of stuff. We're talking about strategies that helped us buy our first few properties, where we put in a lot of work, Janelle specifically, to build out all these crazy systems and sheets, checklists, and analyze sheets, and all this type of stuff.
Work. And it's
oh
funny,
yes
like I think back to it, and I got into real estate because I love this stuff. Like I love building systems. Like I love having things as automated as possible. I put so much work into the stuff, like, albeit sometimes like a little bit too much work. And then I have people that reach out and like ask for analysis sheets, and I'm usually pretty open with that stuff. I mean, like, I just learned it through online forums and practice and whatever. But yeah, like a lot of hours and hours and hours go behind those, and like reiterate iterations and just improving them. And but yeah, it is like Ian was saying, like, it's like if you can pay for that or have access to that, to really like have that cheat code and bump you up to the next level, like it saves you so much time. And I don't know, it's just like everything else out there. Like you think of kind of going on like a online tutorial, and like no one wants to read through that. Like they're always like looking for the YouTube video where someone's like telling them what to do, and it's like the step-by-step guide, and everyone's kind of like flipping through the video, and they're jumping to the next like section or step. But like no one wants to sit there and watch the whole thing. You just want to be like spoon-fed it and like kind of told to do like what next. And that for certain people, that can be exactly what you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing about coaching too is like these coaches, they can teach you a lot, and they can guide you in the right direction, give you all the information that you need. But at the end of the day, you are the one that has to implement it. Yeah. You can take all of your learnings, waste thousands of dollars for these programs, but if you don't actually execute, then what's the point?
Yeah. Yep. And not to like kind of go on a long tangent about coaching, but it's also like take the time to find a coach that's right for you. If they're not really like aligned in like your interests, or maybe you just like don't even jive with that person, then take the time to find someone that you like kind of working with. I mean, I know that's how like it worked out for Ian and I, and kind of looking at that as like one form of like coaching. And like what I was bringing to the table was basically like free labor. But yeah, it's just like we took that time to work together and figure out if that was a good relationship, and if we were, getting along. And it's like, oh, like actually it's really easy to communicate with this person. Like I feel really comfortable asking them questions. We seem to have like just similar backgrounds. I know that kind of might seem like a little bit silly, or might be more applicable to some people than others. But I know if I was getting, say, a coach from like, say like a 50-year-old male who I just didn't have any like common interest with, or just didn't feel like we just like not to like kind of like disregard anyone like that. But it's just like similar interests. Like I have a lot of females that reach out to me, and it is what it is. Some people just want a little bit of commonality in there to help. So yeah, point being, just take the time to find the coach that suits you. and like your interest and your background or whatever you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And then to go back to Manny's point about, you could be shown the way, but it's you that actually have to put the work in. I know I've bumped elbows with people at either a networking event or at another coaching training. I forget exactly what it was, but they had spent like $100,000 on coaching from who even knows how many programs that they were in, but they had still not even bought like a single property. So it's like, no, it's like you need to actually do the things that they're saying and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Another common analogy that you often hear in real estate business, all this stuff, but I know real estate specifically, it's literally like going to the gym. It's like, you could have the best personal trainer, you could have the best nutritionist, you could have the best workout equipment, but it's like if you're not actually doing the reps, you're not actually following the advice, you're not actually putting in the work, like you're not going to get the results. So it is nice to continue educating yourself. Like it's nice little, oh, I'm talking about real estate, it's sophisticated and cool and all this stuff, but it's like the magic doesn't happen unless you're putting in the work. So
and actually I remember this on the weekend. I was out to lunch with a new kind of group of friends, and they're like, oh, like, what do you do? And I was like, yeah, like, I'm a real estate investor and kind of doing a couple other things. And then they were like, the two girls were like, oh, yeah, like, I really want to buy investment property. Like, I've been looking at it. Like, how would you get started? And then I'm telling them all this information, and I'm like, don't forget, this has taken like many years of kind of figuring out. And then honestly, like I kind of ended it with, just to go off with like what Ian was saying, just actually implementing it. I was like, a couple like things for you to get started. Is like, first of all, like have fun with it. If you're gonna enjoy it, it's gonna be a lot easier. And then I was like, just go do it. Like kind of just saying, like a lot of people get that analysis process, or they're taking the coaching and taking the mentorship, and then they're just not doing it. So you really just have to take the plunge, like go for it, have some big action, or like small action that adds up. That'll really get you further.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that point, it's staying consistent with it too. So it's like, I know one of my coaching calls earlier this week, it was like someone was like, yeah, last year before they were working with us, they were like, I wrote down some of the actionable steps that I wanted to take to actually, trying to get myself another deal. And they said that door knocking was one of the methods they wanted to use to try and contact sellers to see if they had any interest with it. And my next question was, well, how many times did you go door knocking? And their response, of course, was, I didn't go door knocking. And then they were like, yep, I'm going to start and I'm going to do it, I don't know, maybe sometime next week. And I'm like, well, when are you going to do it the following week? When are you going to do it the following week after that? When are you going to do the following week after that? And so basically it was not just, yeah, I'm going to do this thing eventually. I was like, no, we're going to schedule this thing and we're going to hold you accountable to stay consistent with it, because that's really where the magic happens. And I know, that's where, like Janelle and I, for example, we stay consistent with, mailing out flyer or mailing out direct mail to sellers, that type of stuff. And we've gotten a vast majority of our deals that way. And it's because we've built a system around it and we're consistently doing it, and we see results from it. So it's, we definitely didn't let, what's that?
I was just going to say, we've all gone door knocking, I think, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've never gone door knocking. Because I've never wanted, like, I was lucky the first couple of deals were just like on market and they were good. And then after that, it's like, I only want bigger buildings, and the guy that lives there, or the guy that owns it, doesn't live there. Knocking on your door is not going to do anything for me.
Yeah.
But I do see the value in it. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
I know someone in our like kind of real estate group, Salome. She went door knocking. I think after we might have gone together, we were talking about it. She went door knocking. She bought a fourplex from it. Granted, yes. We'll have to maybe like get her story on here someday because it's a pretty good one. I don't want to ruin it, but it went pretty sideways. She was texting me during it. And it went pretty bad. I think there was a bit of shouting in there, and it might have been a little bit traumatic for her, but she came out with a fourplex.
Yeah. No, that's too funny.
Then just like talking about more door knocking stories. So the first time Melanie Collins and I met up, back last spring, and we just went to a cafe. We're chatting about real estate, like all this stuff. She had actually heard me on another podcast, the Very Real Estate Effect podcast. I hope I'm saying that right. She heard me on there, and then she messaged me, DM'd me, and was like, hey, like I want to meet up. So we met up, and then chatting about real estate, chatting about like our goals and like what we want to do. And one of them was door knocking for her. And at the time I was just back in Halifax. So I was focusing on warming up some leads. And then I was like, well, we can just like go right now. Like I have like 3 leads here that we could go in Dartmouth. And she was just like, okay, yeah, like sounds good. And this poor girl like doesn't know me at all. And I'm like, so can I get in your car and we can go drive to Dartmouth together and go door knocking? And we did. And it was fine. It was sadly like uneventful. It was kind of a lead that just seemed to, it wasn't really going anywhere, but then like we did it. Like that's all it takes. Like everyone wants to him and ha and sit at home, and I've been very guilty of that in the past. And it's like, oh, like I gotta go on Saturday, like gotta go like get dressed, get out of the house, like get my hat and gloves on, and then it's like you go up to the door and you're like silently praying that they're not home, and then like I don't know, then they come to the door and you have this whole script in your head. It all goes out the window. But anyway, and that's it too. It's like what Ian was saying earlier, like it's reps. The more you do it, like the more comfortable you'll be with it. But so yeah, if anyone has any fun door knocking stories, like we would love to hear them. Send us like a DM to Refine Real Estate NS on Instagram, or DM us personally. Yeah, I would really love to hear them.
Likewise.
As would I.
And then Manny, you said you had a story for us for this episode, or?
Yeah, kind of. I had coffee with this guy last week. A very good investor. Like this guy's been very successful, and he's kind of anti-coaching and anti-mentorship. And it's funny to me because this is the beauty of real estate for me, because there's no one way to do anything. You can go the mentorship route and be super successful, or you can just be a lone wolf. But the thing is, the lone wolves, they have to be built a little different. You have to be more internally motivated. Like you don't need a coach to guide you every single week. You have to have the fire within yourself, which I think everybody should have. But this guy, he clearly has it, and he's doing great. He doesn't have any, he doesn't want a JV. He doesn't want to do syndications. He just wants to own 100% of everything. And he has lofty goals. Like I think he said 1,000 units, and I'm sure he'll get there. But it's just so funny to me that this guy, so different from like what you hear from other people. You can get 1,000 units with partners, or you can get 1,000 units by yourself. But in my opinion, this is just bias. It's like if you can get 1,000 units by yourself, you can probably get 10,000 units, if you partner with the right people. But then at the end of the day, it's like, if you want to have all the control all the time, then yeah, you have to go by yourself.
Yep, absolutely. No, that's interesting. Well, I'd say that that'll be us for today. So listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue to get better at this thing and hopefully keep providing you guys with some valuable content. But until then, we will be chatting with you.